Dear students of higher secondary final year, once again I welcome you in the online classes of Department of Pol Science. I am Dr. Adbul Mannan Mazumder. I have already taken 2 classes. This is my 3rd class. I want to tell you that in the last class we discussed about the causes of the Cold War, and as per the schedule which we prepared in the first class, in today's class we have to discuss emergence of power blocks. So without wasting any time, we just directly come to the topic of today's discussion, and that is emergence of power blocks during the Cold War. So let us start our discussion on emergence of power blocks. Now we have already discussed in some of the other in our discussion of some of other topics that during the Cold War the two superpowers USA and USSR, they were very much eager to enlarge their areas of influence. So this effort at enlarging areas of influence was one of the major causes of Cold War. Now, the two superpowers, they were just trying to enlarge their areas of influence. They were trying to enlarge their areas of influence, and in that process, they directly came in contact. There was direct tension between the two superpowers. And in that process also, what happened? The world got divided. The world means the developed world, or you can say Europe. At that time, developed world mainly meant Europe. Europe got divided into, or the developed countries got, most of the developed countries got divided into two superpower blocks. And this is what we are going to discuss in this class. The emergence of power blocks, how power blocks emerged in world politics. So I am saying that when the superpowers, they were trying to enlarge their areas of influence, they were trying to enlarge their areas of friendship, the number of friends. In that process, the world got divided into two power blocks at that time. Now, what were these two power blocks? The world got divided into two power blocks. On the one hand, there was the capitalist bloc, which is formally known as, or which was formally known as, Western Alliance. On the other hand, there was the Soviet bloc, or the communist bloc, which was known as, which was known as Eastern Alliance. So what we are getting, the world got divided into two power blocks. On the one hand, there was the capitalist bloc, or the Western Alliance, and on the other hand, there was the Soviet bloc, or the communist bloc, or the Eastern Alliance. Now, let me remind you again, or let me repeat it again. The world got divided into two blocks during the Cold War. What are these two blocks? On the one hand, Western Alliance, or capitalist bloc, or US bloc, or capitalist bloc, or US bloc, or Western Alliance. By these three names you can call it: Western Alliance, or capitalist bloc, or US bloc. On the other hand, there was Eastern Alliance, or Soviet bloc, or communist bloc. So the world got divided into two power blocks. On the one hand, the bloc led by, one bloc was led by USA, that was called Western Alliance. On the other hand, the other bloc was led by Soviet Union, that was called Eastern Alliance. On the one hand, Western Alliance led by USA. On the other hand, Eastern Alliance led by Soviet Union or USSR. Now, at this moment, let me tell you some very important points about these two power blocks. Now, up till this point, we have discussed, we are saying that the world got divided into two blocks, US bloc, Communist bloc or Western Alliance. On the other hand, Soviet bloc or Communist bloc or Eastern Alliance. Now, let us take one by one. First, let us take the case of Western Alliance. Let me tell you a few points about Western Alliance, and I think it will be better for you to note down. First point you note down, I am telling 4 important points about this Western Alliance. Point number 1, this Western Alliance included, who were there in the Western Alliance? It included USA as the leader and her West European allies. USA and her West European allies such as UK, Italy, France, Belgium, West Germany, etc. So I am again repeating, point number 1 is with regard to Western Alliance, that Western Alliance included USA as the leader and her or USA's West European allies or West European ally countries like UK, France, Belgium, Italy, West Germany, etc. Second point is the Western Alliance or the alliance led by USA at one point of time got a formal name, or it got formalized into a full-fledged organization. The Western Alliance got a formal name or formalized into a full-fledged organization called North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Briefly, it is called NATO. North Atlantic Treaty Organization. North Atlantic Treaty Organization or NATO. So it was formed in April 1949. NATO was formed by USA and her West European allies in April 1949. Now, we have already discussed 2 things about Western Alliance. First, it included USA and her West European allies. Second, it got formalized into North Atlantic Treaty Organization in April 1949. This is the second point. Third point about Western Alliance is it was formed. What was the intention or objective of creating this NATO? NATO, you know, it was a military alliance. It was a military alliance formed by USA and her West European allies with the main aim of checking the growth of Soviet communism. Its main aim was to, point number 3 about Western Alliance or NATO, that its main aim of NATO was to check the growth of Soviet communism. And point number 4, the last point with regard to Western Alliance is that originally it had only 12 members. At the time of its formation, it had 12 members. But you must note it down that NATO is still alive as an organization of USA and her European allies, and at present its membership has increased. At present, as per the latest record, it has 26 members. So, we have pointed out 4 important points regarding Western Alliance. First point is that it included USA and her West European allies. Secondly, It got formalized into North Atlantic Treaty Organization in April 1949. Number 3, it was formed to check the growth of Soviet communism. And number 4, originally it had 12 members, but now it is still alive and its membership has increased to 26 as per the latest information. So this is about Western Alliance. 4 main points about Western Alliance. Now let me come to Eastern Alliance or Alliance of the Soviet Union. Again you note down, on the one hand you have already written about Western Alliance. Now you note down 4 important points about Eastern Alliance or the alliance led by Soviet Union or the Communist bloc. Point number 1 with regard to Eastern Alliance. Number 1 is, it included, that is, which Eastern Alliance included Soviet Union and her East European allies. Point number 1 regarding Eastern Alliance. Eastern Alliance included USSR and her East European allies or East European ally countries like Poland, Czechoslovakia, Romania, Hungary, Bulgaria, etc. Poland, Czechoslovakia, Romania, Hungary, Bulgaria, etc. So first point is that Eastern Alliance was formed by Soviet Union and her East European allies like Romania, Hungary, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, etc. Number 2, this Eastern Alliance, just like Western Alliance, the Eastern Alliance also got formalized into a full-fledged organization or military alliance called Warsaw Pact in May 1955. The Eastern Alliance got formalized into or got into a formal shape called Warsaw Pact in May 1955. So this is the second point about Eastern Alliance. Eastern Alliance got formalized into a full-fledged organization called Warsaw Pact in the year or in May 1955. The first point about Eastern Alliance is that it included USA and her East European allies. Second point is it got formalized into a full-fledged organization called Warsaw Pact. Warsaw, W-A-R-S-A-W, Warsaw Pact, P capital, P-A-C-T, Warsaw Pact in May 1955. In May 1955, it got formalized into an organization called or a military alliance called what? Warsaw Pact. Now, point number 3 about Eastern Alliance. It was created with the intention or with the motive or with the objective of countering or with the objective to counter the influence and impact of NATO. I am again repeating, Warsaw Pact was created by the Soviet Union and her West European communist allies to counter the influence and impact of NATO, to counter the impact and influence of North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And last point is that, like North Atlantic Treaty Organization, this Warsaw Pact is not alive now. In fact, it got defunct in the year 1991. So, this organization saw its end in the year 1991 with the collapse of the Soviet Union. So, at present, there is no organization called Warsaw Pact. It got defunct in the year 1991. So, these are the 4 main points about Eastern Alliance or Soviet Alliance, as I told you. Again, I am repeating. First point is that Eastern Alliance included Soviet Union and her East European allies like Poland, Bulgaria, Hungary, East Germany, etc. etc. Secondly, it was formalized into a formal organization called Warsaw Pact. It was formalized into a formal organization, that is Eastern Alliance was formalized into a formal organization called Warsaw Pact in May 1955. Third, this Warsaw Pact, it was created with the motive to counter the impact and influence of North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which was formed by the rival group, that is the USA group. And lastly, I said that just like North Atlantic Treaty Organization, it is not alive. It became defunct in the year 1991 with the collapse of the Soviet Union. So we say that the latest information about North Atlantic Treaty Organization is that at present the organization is not there. At present there is no such organization called Warsaw Pact, because the Warsaw Pact, which was a military alliance formed by USA and her allies, got defunct in the year 1991 with the collapse of the Soviet Union. So let us very briefly repeat what we discussed till now. We are discussing emergence of power blocks. We said that the world got divided into two power blocks during the Cold War. One bloc was Western Alliance or the capitalist bloc led by USA, and the other bloc was Eastern Alliance or the communist bloc led by Soviet Union. And four important points that I discussed about these two power blocks. Very briefly I am repeating. Regarding Western bloc, first point is that it included USA and her West European allies. Secondly, it got formalized into an organization called North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the main aim of which was to counter the Soviet communism.